Here are 4 things they don't tell you about life after high school. Number 1, only a handful of people you were friends with in high school are going to be your friends for the rest of your life. Graduating high school is like when a beloved TV series airs its final episode. Your classmates are like your castmates. Each day was a different episode. There are lots of storylines, ups and downs, highs and lows, but like everything in life, it eventually comes to an end. And watching your peers part ways is a bit like watching actors move on to their next projects. You look back on all the memories you created, all the friends you made along the way, but after you walk that stage and grab your diploma, it's going to hit you that most of the people you were friends with are all going to go their own separate ways, and only the people that you were closest with are going to be your friends for the rest of your life. People each have their own aspirations and life goals. Some people stay at home to go to college. Some people move somewhere else to go to college. Some people go to trade school. Some people join the military. Some people go straight to the workforce. And some people just kind of crash out and end up spending their days laying in bed, surfing TikTok, and eating Cheetos all day. No matter what path you end up going down after you graduate, be sure to keep in touch with your closest friends because they're the friendships that will last you a lifetime. They're the ones that will be there for you in all the ups and downs, all the highs and lows, both the good times and the hard times. So you should make plans with them regularly. Maybe get something to eat with them, do some fun activities like going bowling or seeing a movie, going to a museum you like, going shopping, playing sports together, maybe invite them to a party, or anything else you want to do with your friends. But my advice is that you need to have at least 2 friends that you'll continue to see in person on the regular after you graduate high school. You can't just disappear off the face of the earth and start over from scratch and not expect to feel a little lonely after a while. The reason I emphasize meeting up with friends in person is that while keeping in touch through technology and social media is cool and all, it doesn't replace in-person, face-to-face human interaction, because for the vast majority of human history, that was the only way to keep in touch with people. And contrary to a lot of stereotypes about my generation, I actually prefer to meet up with people in person, and I feel more comfortable doing that because it's an experience that no amount of screens or technology can replace. And humans are social animals that naturally crave that kind of interaction. And as a result, you need to live your life and see your friends, because as far as we know, this is the only life we're going to have, and we got to live it to the fullest, because it can be taken from us at any moment. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm just saying you only have one life, and you need to make it a good one full of happiness, friendship, and fun memories. Ultimately, you need to make a point to see the people you care about the most, because they're not just going to show up for you unless you go out your way to contact them and make plans to hang out. And friendship will be less about quantity and more about quality by the time you leave high school. Number 2, you're going to feel lost, scared, confused, and directionless after high school. And that's nothing wrong with that. After you graduate high school, all the social clout you built, all the academic success you worked so hard to achieve will suddenly disappear overnight, and before you know it, you'll be right back where you started and back at square one. After the epic climax that is graduation, you'll be in a state of confusion, aimlessness, and you'll find yourself wondering where all the time went and where do you go from here. And if you think that all your insecurities are going to go away after you graduate, trust me, they don't. If anything, they're going to multiply, and you might feel unnecessarily guilty over things that are perfectly normal at this age, that are frankly only an issue because capitalism says they are. You might feel like a failure because you still live with your family. You might feel like a failure because you've never had a job before. You might feel like a failure because you're single. You might feel like a failure because you're too scared to pay bills or taxes or whatever. But here's the truth. You're not a failure, and it's absolutely normal at this age to not be fully independent yet, because you still have time. It's not like you're 30 or anything. And besides, this is the perfect time in your life to not have everything figured out yet. Just because you start to see people growing up, just because you start to see people you grew up with moving out, getting jobs, getting invested in serious romantic relationships, or anything else of that nature, it doesn't mean that you're stagnating. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. And it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. So if you're worried that you're falling behind from your peers or that you're not where society is expecting you to be, just remember that all it means is that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and that the whole point of being 18 to 25 is not having everything sorted out yet and still getting the hang of things, because no matter how grown the government or society thinks you are or tells you are still a kid, and you're still figuring things out, and the fact that you're feeling directionless is 100% developmentally appropriate for your age. Number 3, you should spend time with all age groups and not just your own. Although it's not necessarily true for everyone, a majority of people who just graduate high school will want to spend most or all their time with people their own age. But if you only do that, you miss out on the full richness of life. For example, hanging out with little kids will bring you back to the innocence, magic, wonder, and playfulness that most people lose when they enter puberty. And if you're like me and you never left that mindset behind to begin with, It'll keep you young inside, and you will learn so much from being around children. Because I've always believed that they're so much smarter and so much more awesome than society gives them credit for. So if you want to return to the mindset of childhood, just know that it's never too late, and you'll be welcomed back with open arms. And if you're like me, and you've been the same person your entire life and never left that mindset of childhood to begin with, just know that there's nothing wrong with that. And although people aren't always going to understand your childlike ways, it just means that you know something that other people don't, and you have wisdom to share with others. So be sure to play with children if you can, whether it's a younger relative, a friend, sibling, some random kid you meet at a party, or anything else for that matter. Don't pass up any opportunity to return to your roots. On the other hand, don't be afraid to talk to adults either, because they have a lot of wisdom to share with you about what it was like to be your age, and they know what you're going through because they were once in your shoes as well. Whether it's your parents, other relatives, your college professors, your employer, or whatever, they're happy to take questions and offer advice that you just aren't going to get from people your own age. And certainly, last but not least, absolutely spend time with people your own age, because you're only going to be this age once, and once it's gone, you aren't going to get it back. Whether it's a friend you knew from high school, like I mentioned before, or somebody that you meet at college or your job, right now is a perfect time to hang out with your peers, because after this is over, it's going to be way more common to be surrounded by people who are much older than you, and you don't have a lot in common with. And that leads us finally on to number 4. That sense of a unified and shared experience that you had in high school and before is going to disappear, even if you continue your education in college. Think of it this way. Until about a couple years ago, everyone was exposed to roughly the same mainstream culture. We all knew the same blockbuster movies, the same pop songs, the same internet memes, the same TV shows, the same video games, and so on. But with the recent rise of social media algorithms and AI slop, that culture and that sense of shared popular culture is disappearing. And something similar to that happens when you graduate high school. For example, college campuses are so much bigger, and they have way more students than your high school ever did. People come from all over the country and even all over the world to study there, and they're going to have vastly different life experiences than you did. For the most part, college students are going to be somewhere around your age, but occasionally there are students who are like fully grown adults in their 30s and beyond. And although it's admittedly kind of funny at first, there are in fact people who choose to go back to school later in life. Also, because college offers so many different classes that are more tailored to your interests, your daily schedule is going to become much more personalized than it was before. And although your younger self probably couldn't wait to be able to customize their education, the fact of the matter is that while this is cool and all, you're going to start missing that sense of shared experience that you had in high school, in middle school, and elementary school. It's inevitably going to hit you hard when the people around you don't know any of your references, inside jokes, or funny stories from high school, middle school, and elementary school. And I'm not saying this to scare you, because frankly, it scares me too. But like I said earlier about keeping in touch with your closest friends from high school and hanging out with them regularly, you still get to hold on to that sense of shared experience whenever you're around them, because now that y'all have graduated, it becomes clear who you hung out with only because you spent your weekdays together, and who you're going to hang out with for the rest of your life. Because your whole education is now custom tailored to you and your field of interest, it's going to feel how social media algorithms show you content that it thinks you'll like at the expense of a shared popular culture. And even if you don't go to college, things are going to become much more fragmented than they were before. Anyways, guys, that's it for today's video. Leave a like and a comment if you can, and be sure to subscribe as well. Alright, bye!